Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, sounding off on Governor Holcomb's take on the Indiana economy and his vision for the future. Also, Indy's big plans for the Bicentennial and big funding news for IU. Joining me this week on The Insiders, Indiana Chamber of Commerce Senior Vice President Tom Schuman. Also, Ginovus Executive Managing Director Larry Gigerich. And UIndy Assistant Professor of Political Science, Laura Merrifield Wilson. Welcome, one and all, to the Insiders for another edition.
Thanks.
We had Governor Holcomb on the show early on the top of the show, the first two segments. Certainly in his State of the State address, he had a couple of, or at least one big announcement regarding economic development. Coming off a record 2019, as you well know, Larry, in economic development in Indiana. Then right off the bat, Toyota putting the wraps on a $2.3 billion investment in Princeton. Fiat Chrysler in Kokomo with $400 million investment. Would seem to be things are off to a good start.
Yeah, for sure. I think Indiana continues to be on a roll economically. And you look at the numbers from last year in 2019, record average hourly wage levels for projects the IDC supported, and incredible capital investment numbers. And still job creation numbers that were very strong, but really the wage levels and the capital investment, because of its impact on communities in Indiana, really important.
What's driving that? I mean, you know, there's a lot of international investment, direct foreign investment as well. In your view, or is it a series of things coming together?
I think it's a series of things. I think if you go back and look at a lot of the changes that were made to, our toolbox, so to speak, starting under Governor Daniels and then progressing going forward, we have a great environment for businesses looking to locate in Indiana. I think now with the emphasis being put on talent with next level jobs the last few years, that's helping us move forward on that talent curve, which is where we have the most work left to do. Yeah,
in terms of policy, Tom, I know the Indiana Chamber, big proponents of the smoking age and some health related issues. The governor seems to be on board with that.
Absolutely. Both the governor and legislative leaders have got on board with raising the smoking age to 21. So that looks like that will happen, and of course took place at the federal level. Some of the other measures, increasing the taxes, that'll be a discussion that'll take place in the 2021 session, but there's some momentum there. On the international investment you talked about, Gary, I wanted to mention, think back 35 years ago. We need to thank then Governor Bob Orr and John Mutz for their efforts in Japan and what that has paid off today, and it's just such a big factor in the continuing success.
And back then, they established some international offices, right, for Indiana in those countries, and it was by no means totally supported. There was a lot of opposition to it.
I know you've mentioned it on the show before, but it just bears repeating. Those efforts have been so beneficial for many, many years, and will continue to be so. Yep.
Laura, another item going through the legislature now seems to be on track for passage, and that's the hands-free driving regulation.
Which is a really important policy. I think a lot of people know you have the no texting, but that didn't mean you couldn't email, Snapchat, Instagram, anything else on your phone while driving. And a number of states do have this kind of legislation, really important in terms of curbing those kind of accidents.
And I guess it would seem on one hand to be a no-brainer, but I guess the implementation and the policing and things like that, I guess, would be the challenge.
I think that's going to be the hardest part to it. And I think it's something that we can all agree, we don't want people, texting and driving. We want them emailing and driving. And at the same time, it's very easy to look to your left and right when you're on the highway and see folks doing just that.
Part of the governor's vision, too, for infrastructure, or he calls it connectivity, is connecting not only via roads and bridges, but things like nonstop flights. And certainly there's been a big increase in nonstop flights at Indianapolis International Airport. Can we expect, do you think, Larry, will begin to see more announcements, including maybe even international nonstops, additional?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, you look at the airport and their work, they've done a fantastic job of identifying markets, working with the business community, and figuring out how to support those. And I think certainly on the international side, with the great success thus far of the flight to Paris, I mean, super successful. I think beat everyone's expectations. I think that creates other opportunities, especially in Europe, for places like London and others that really would help us from a business standpoint.
And having the top airport in North America, I guess, doesn't hurt
for sure.
as well. Other big news at the Indiana State House, Pat Bauer announcing this week his intent to step down from the Indiana General Assembly after 50 years. That's a long time, Tom.
Well, you think about it, maybe between Pat Bauer and Brian Bosma, the current speaker, 84 years of leadership, and they've been involved in so many things, both individually and working together. Their fathers served in the General Assembly and were friends, and they developed a relationship that go back to 2003 and passed an economic development package that again was very crucial to many of the developments we've seen. So just tremendous service over the years from both of them.
Yeah, Laura, as you look at it, rare that you get someone with that longevity and that many roles, important roles at the Indiana General Assembly.
It is. I mean, you look at the depth of his experience. He served as Speaker of the House. He's Minority Speaker, Chairman of Ways and Means, incredibly important committee. I applaud these men and for what they've done, their service, and it's also great, exciting opportunities. We come to an election cycle for some new blood and new people involved.
Higher education, I mentioned a big gift for IU, actually $16 million gift to the IU Kelley School of Business from Brian and Sheila Jellison, the Family Foundation. You're in higher education. You know that money it really helps to fuel a lot of different
It does. I mean, it begins as kind of momentum, and it can keep going in terms of inertia for the program. Kelley has not just a statewide, but a national reputation for what they do, and this money will really help propel them, certainly in terms of bringing in students, bringing in talent from faculty, but also the research and the work that they provide.
Also this week, a big announcement from Visit Indy, another recap of the year in tourism 2019. They unveiled some big numbers and also honored a favorite son of Indianapolis. David Letterman came back to receive the Bill McGowan Award for our tourism, very prestigious award. Tom, as you look at tourism, it has become such an important part of the economy, and going forward, celebrating the Bicentennial, they're going to try to drive more tourism to the city.
Well, look at between the last two things we talked about, the magic number is 200 years of Indiana University, 200 years for Indianapolis, that bicentennial. On the tourism side, so many things going on around the state, but again, the thing that we have to do better, and we hear it often, is we have to toot our own horn. We have to get out there and make everybody else aware of all these great opportunities in Indiana. So that'll be a big focus going forward.
Well, and credit to Governor Holcomb and his team recognizing that, the creation of the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. That's huge. It puts us in a position to really tell that story going forward. And with Elaine Beadle moving from the IEDC over to there, understanding how you connect those economic dots, really, really important.
It's going to help with workforce too, and for sure, the tourism, I think.
You think I think it's going to be one of the big stories to watch going forward.
Yeah, no question. And I think, again, we weren't really visible in that space, and now we are. And to Tom's point, the opportunity to bolt on the talent piece to that, I think, is huge.
Yeah. Always like to touch on sports on the Insiders, and this week Wallet Hub came out with their lists of the best cities in the United States for professional and college football. Indianapolis ranked number 11 on that list for pro football. Tom, was that an accurate ranking?
You know, it wasn't always that way. If it was 15, 20 years ago, I don't think we would have had that lofty ranking. Again, go back to quarterback, number 18, Peyton Manning, not only changed the mindset about professional football, but high school football, and really throughout the state, and helped grow. So, yeah, we're ardent fans here in Indianapolis and all of Indiana, and I'll have a close eye on the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Yeah, I know, Laura, you're a big college football fan. Roll Tide, right?
I am, Roll Tide.
But the importance of football as part of a sports makeup for a community can't be overstated.
It is. I think culturally it's so important. It's not just folks that really like the sport, but it's being a part of it for watching the game. You don't have to understand it. Just being there from a cultural and social perspective. As Tom said, it's not just for Indianapolis, it's for the entire state.
Very quickly, Larry Bobby Cox retiring at the IHSAA. Just had him on the show this week. Really some great service.
Oh, incredible. And how that organization moved forward, the changes they made just to keep up with different things, and really doing it in a way where it was focused on the student athlete, right? I mean, and doing it in a very measured way and focusing on that, which is what you should focus on when it comes to high school sports.
Very good. Larry Gigerich, Laura Merrifield, Wilson, Tom Schuman, thank you for being on The Insiders. We'll be right back.